Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire.
We are talking about always doing your best. This is important to me because we can be our own worst critic, which is not a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but we have to understand that our best can look different every single day. So, Nellie, when you think about always doing your best, and we had this conversation sometime last week, what comes to mind? What are the challenges that you've come across?
Well, it's definitely shifted over the years because when I was younger, doing my best was literally like the best I could possibly do in life. So I would constantly, one day I would do something really well, let's say, and then the next day you're a different person, there's different circumstances going on, and if I didn't do it the way I knew I could, I wasn't doing my best. And, but, we'll talk about it, but as I get older, your best really is your best of that day.
So. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a realization as you get older, and I hope that this comes across to anyone who needs it, who's struggling with the idea of being your best all the time, because I know that with society today, we're told to always be your best at all times, the place where sea meets land and fall in love, and we fall in love too. I like that. Yeah. Assuming we're talking about the beach, or we're talking about doing your best.
I think it works for both. Applicable.
I think it does. I think so. I love that. Thank you. I think I struggled with the idea of best, the idea of quote unquote doing your best. And because of me not trusting myself and not listening to myself, my mind, my body, and all of that I deterred myself from certain things that were enjoyable to me as a kid, right? So, I did Taekwondo for a while when I was younger. My dad literally thought I was a son that he never had. And so I was always doing the sporty things. I also grew up with a lot of boys. So I was always doing the sporty things. So jumping off bikes, and Nellie knows. And I did Taekwondo, I did karate, I did baseball, softball, we played football together and all the things as a kid. Very playful, fun activity as a kid. But at a certain point, if I didn't feel like I performed, and I look back now, if I didn't feel like I performed the same that I did yesterday, or I felt the pressure from adults around me that it wasn't as good as I did the day before or previously, that I talked down to myself and just kind of gave up. And I gave up a lot of things that I wish I would have stuck with, like Taekwondo. I would have loved to become a black belt. That would have been a dream. And I still think about it to this day, and it still can happen, of course. Still can happen. Here's the thing. You can always do it. There's no time like now in the present. So I can still do it, right? It won't be as limber as I was back then, but I can still do it. But the thing is, I wish I would have been taught that mentality of it's okay that my body or my mind or anything that I'm going through is not performing the same as it did yesterday, as long as I am putting the effort and putting in, and with that coupled with love and passion to continue to pursue this task or this whatever situation that I'm doing. Nellie, were you going to say something?
Well, no, I was responding to something else, but now that, that is interrupted, I agree with everything you're saying, and it's true. And it's interesting listening to you say that, because I went to the other extreme where I would just go so hard to do my best. So I wouldn't be like, I can't even do this and give up. I would go a little too hard. Just out of determination and stubbornness, and be like, I'm not giving up. But it might have been things that like maybe I didn't truly enjoy, but I had already started, and I was going to prove that I could do it. And I did it well yesterday, so I better do it well today. And I think a lot of that, and I was even talking about this today, when I'm always talking about mindfulness, hashtag no judgment, because there's a reason we are the way we are. Like me growing up, the economy was whacked like it is now, right? So my dad had a really great job. He was really good at what he did, but then he got laid off, and we had a ton of bills. My brother has special needs. everybody got bills, but you have somebody that needs extra help, that's expensive, and it just all happened. And we kind of got caught up and weren't able to pay stuff off. And my dad was still working, but it just like, it was a hard time. And so I was just vowing, I was like, why do I work so hard, even whenever I need to rest? And a big part of it is because growing up, you didn't have food, or there were eviction notices on your door multiple times. So they'd taken your car in the middle of the night because you couldn't pay for it. They towed it away and all this stuff. And that's fine. Like, you know, I had my health, but it turns you into this person that's like, I don't care if it's not my best day. I'm going to make it my best day because I have to survive. Like, I have to work. It's not going to be my reality. But that actually, I found as I got older, is counterintuitive to and counterbalancing actual success and flow. So that's been really hard for me. I'm like, every day has to be my best. And but then yesterday, like I said, I went to 2 back-to-back movies, and I had a big chunk of time where I could have just sat and worked, but I was just having a day where I just couldn't settle in. And I was like, this is not my best day in regards to a working day. So I'm just going to go to the movies, and because we're actors, we watch movies differently, so we enjoy it, but we're also studying. So I was like, okay, I'll go study, but I'm going to relax. But that's new for me, because in the past I would have been like, you need to rise to the occasion and be your best as you were yesterday, Janelle.
You know, it's interesting because there has to be a balance, because you don't want to get to the point where you're making excuses for not always doing your best or not going the extra mile, right? So you have to understand and do a self-evaluation of your life and where you want to go, the goals, the aspirations, all the things, and also the alignment with your body, because your body's going to tell you whether you can keep going or not. Because I know I can say this, and Nellie's the type of person that she'll keep going and going and going until her body's like, take a seat, right? Where me, on the other hand, I'll keep going, and then I'm like, ooh, my body's not doing well. Hey, everybody, taking a day? I'm taking a day. And I do that purposely because it's good for my body, but it's also good for my mind. And I get to sit down or lay down or whatever I'm doing. And that could be even taking a day of reading a book, which is still intellectually stimulating me, to self-evaluate, take note of where I'm at. How has my month gone, my week gone? You know, what have I done? And, you know, looking at, could I have done things different, and not judging myself, never judging myself, # no judgment, but understanding that the choices that I made, I have to stick with, right? And, you know, this goes relating to always doing your best, because always doing your best is always going to look different every single day. The point is, your best is going to look different, because you got to understand every day there are different circumstances. Yes, you may have a routine of a 9 to 5 or a job that you go to or encounters that you have every single day, of course. But the train could be delayed today. So by the time you get to work, you're exhausted because the train was hot, or there was no AC in the train. Someone bumped you and spilled coffee. So when you're at work, you're constantly thinking about the coffee stain on your shirt, right? These are little things that can contribute to always doing your best. And this is why it's really, really important to really pay attention to your mindset and the artistry of it and the practice of your mindset. Because when you do, you're able to distinguish what is doing your best versus what is overexerting yourself, what is being quote unquote lazy or not there. You got to understand yourself. And this is when it's really, again, important to dig deep and dive into who you are and what are your capabilities, and never judging yourself, and understanding that your weaknesses are also your strengths. They just have to get there. Any practice. Like, I wish I would have had this mindset, because if I did, again, there were a lot of things that I would have kept on doing. And I would say this, your surroundings also contribute to doing your best. So, and what I mean by that is, hello, welcome to Coffee with Coaches, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And what I mean by environment is your aesthetic of your room or wherever your office is can also contribute to doing your best. If it's too cluttered, sometimes that can affect your clarity, right? Some people are very scattered, and that's okay too. But you need to understand that as well about yourself, right? Because I know myself. Here's the thing that I'm really honest with myself. If I have a task to do today, I wake up and I go, I gotta do I gotta do this, that, and the third, right? I have my to-do list. I planned it out the day before, and I wake up and I go, oh, my dog needs a good shave. Damn, I gotta cut their nails. Oh, I should sweep, right? I know myself enough to go, I should do this now and take 20 to 30 minutes to do it now versus jumping right onto my task and then in the middle of it going, I gotta do that. No. I'll get distracted and I won't put 100% of my attention into the task. So I personally know that obviously certain big things that I'll save till later. I go, okay, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll spread out my day or whatever. But if it's something like sweeping my floor and that takes me about 10 minutes, that could be 10 minutes where I'm sweeping my floor, but I'm also listening to a podcast, listening to music and moving my body. So I'm gearing myself up for the task that I have going throughout the day. That is me doing my best that day. There are days where I'm straight into my computer. I did my yoga, my meditation. I'm good. I'm focused. A-line. That's it. Nobody bother me. I even put my phone on work, don't disturb, and Nelly knows, like, don't disturb. And I'm focused. And that is me doing my best. But I'm also, again, I am being kind to myself. I'm treating myself as a partner, as me, myself, and I. I talk to myself all the time. You might think I'm crazy in the streets, but I pretend I have my AirPods on. If you ever see me on my AirPods and talking, probably talking to myself, but I'm just letting it slide. But these are things about always doing your best and being kind, because again, things change every single day and your best is always going to be different. But as long as you're aware of that and you understand what your end goal is or what your aspirations are and leading with kindness and love, your best is always going to be beautiful if you acknowledge it. Because you're meant to do great and big things, but it's not going to happen overnight. Think of a garden. You plant the seed, you got to nurture it. Some days it's going to, if you have a garden outside, it's going to rain and pour. Then it's going to be a drought. You don't know. You got to kind of go with the flow in that sense. So treat yourself like a garden. Take care of yourself. Tend to the weeds. Make sure that there's no insects eating your shit up, which means the people around you. Make sure they're not eating up your energy, your mindset, bringing you an environment environments that are uncomfortable. These are all things that contribute to always doing your best and taking responsibility for your choices. I've had this conversation with my mom. My mom was like, you just got to make decisions in life and stick with it and don't look back, because you decided to stick with that decision, that choice, and stick with it. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, you made a choice. And in that moment, you made a choice that was relevant to the current circumstances, to those circumstances that were presenting itself. Today, your choice may be totally different because those circumstances are not presented today. So your choice is going to be different. And this is a really good reminder of how to do your best, because sometimes you've got to take a moment or a day, or a 24-hour rule as well is also very relevant here. If you couldn't do your best in that moment, take 24 hours to evaluate or talk to yourself, see where you're at in life, your body, your mind. The other day, my body was beat up. After we went thrifting, girl, my body was beat up for some reason. I couldn't move. So I had to do stretching for like 2 hours. My body was like cracking. I was like, what's happening here? I'm so stiff right now. I was like, this is not normal. So I had to spend extra time to do stretching. And it was bad. No, it was so bad. I was like, what is happening? But that was me doing my best in order for me to perform today. So go ahead. Sorry.
Either. No, I couldn't move either. Like,
really?
I was like, yeah, because, Andrew got here and he's like, let's go do something. Let's go. So I'm like, can we just lay here? I said, Amanda and I are thrifting in the heat all day, and I couldn't, I can't move. I needed a good, rest. Yes, rest is important, and I love everything that you said, and it's such a reminder, and I'm actually in this class right now that talks about, that's what makes it difficult, I think. It's like how you spend your time. So I'm in this class that the first thing they have you do every Friday is look at your calendar first and look at it 2 weeks ahead. See, you got doctor's appointments coming up. And if you already, like me, my work schedule for the next 2 weeks is roughly what it will be. It shifts. But put that in there. Put in time to go get your groceries, time to cook. Like, these are things that people forget to do. And I'm speaking for myself here. So then you really know how much time you have to work with, and then prioritizing the biggest things will help knock over the most dominoes for what you're trying to do in your life. Because there's always going to be something to do, but we often end up doing is like these little tasks, and it's good if it's like small tasks, like you say, that will be distracting you, and you're like, okay, I gotta just do this. But many people have a habit of doing a ton of little things and feeling accomplished, kind of, until they realize that they're not moving the needle in the way that they want to. And the key is to choose the biggest things that your future self will like really be grateful for. You always have to do laundry and all this stuff, you know, but you have to put that in. And then the other thing I like about that class is it says, what could you have done better this past week? And so for me, and this is what everybody's different, but for me, I spend too much time trying to figure out situations or being upset about something. And that's just something for me. It's something I'm working on. It really eats up a lot of my time, trying to work things out and make everything smooth instead of just letting things go. And so for me, taking care of myself and doing my best is really like, you know, going to therapy and figuring out how to minimize those situations so that I can do my best. But there are going to be some days where I am just tired, you know. We're doing a lot. You know, Amanda and I are on here doing these lives, we're building coaching companies, we're actors, you know, and everybody always has a lot going on. So I think that was really helpful to look 2 weeks ahead, because it can be very frustrating if you think you have a lot of time and you don't, you know, and time is just a construct, and, you know, you can collapse time and there's all these things. But you kind of, like, I love what you said, you have to have a balance, like just floating through life with no idea of where you stand or not checking in with yourself. That's why mindfulness is so important, because then you could end up keep doing something that's actually draining you. And so it's really hard to do your best. You know, you might have to work out a relationship, something at work, you might have to stop doing certain behaviors, you know, and we're all doing our best. But it's just really evaluating what that looks like and then being easy on yourself. So yesterday I needed to do a ton of work, but I knew that if I forced myself to do that work yesterday, it wasn't going to be good if I didn't rest. But you can't use it as an excuse, like you said, like later today I have a lot of work to do, but I think because I rested yesterday, it'll be more comfortable.
Yeah, there has to be a really big balance. There has to be a balance and an understanding of you and what your goals are and aspirations in life. And again, this is when the mindset, if you have time, look back at all our episodes on our podcast and Mindset Artistry. You know, a lot of that plays into your mindset. We've talked about values. We've talked about saying yes. We talked about difficult conversations. All of these things contribute to always doing your best. And you have to understand that, like, the alignment, your spirituality, whatever you believe in, also contributes to that as well, because you have to have a sense of, I wouldn't say morality, but a sense of light and love within all that you do. Right? There has to be a sense of light and love in all that you do, and an understanding of what your life's purpose is. And that's why it's great to have a life coach like Nellie. Nellie is amazing with the career mindset. If you really need to understand and what to do, and what, Nellie's got you, right? And that's why I'm here for self-authenticity, because I struggled with that for so long. And that's why it means so much to me. I have such a big passion about that, because I know what it's like to walk around and not realize that you're not being your true self. Right? You're not, and within that, you're losing your prosperity. You're losing yourself. You're losing all the opportunities that were meant for you and only you. You got to understand the dreams and all these creative ideas are coming to you for a reason, because they're yours. They're meant to be yours and no one else's. No matter how similar it is to someone else, they're still yours. So go out and do it. Easier said than done, of course. And again, that ties into always doing your best. So what I'll say is too, and this is something that I struggled with, is pushing through the resistance. pushing through the fear, pushing through the anxiety, pushing through the doubts, the imposter syndromes. Those are all things that are going to take away from you doing your best. So there has to be an understanding of, is this fear? Is this anxiety? Is this stress? Is this someone else's words becoming my own that is distracting me or pulling me away from doing my best? Are they blocking me? What are the bad habits that or negative habits that I've gotten adapted to? Am I too comfortable? Right? All these things are contributing to always doing your best. And what I'll say is, take care of your mind. Take care of it. It's the most important thing. I know we say our body is important as well, but our mindset is going to keep us going. Our mind is going to keep us going. That's all. At the end of the day, our body may deteriorate throughout the years, but you will always have your mind. Your mind will pull you out of the darkness, of the doubts, of the fear, of the anxiety. But this is when the healing process comes in as well. And so acknowledging all those things, but again, your best is beautiful no matter what. Comparing your best to yesterday is actually doing yourself a disservice for today. You go, okay, fine, I did, 10 tasks out of my 30. That's amazing. That's great. But today I only did 2. Well, today you still did 2. And how great is that? Hey, maybe you could do 1 more. Fine, great. But that's still doing your best today. Maybe you, instead of doing the 10, you decided, you know what, I think I'm going to rest and read a book. That is also still doing your best because you're stimulating your mind. Depending on what craft and what field you're in and creative outlooks, that is a part of all that. But again, don't make excuses and understand that you got to be the 1% of that goal that you're seeking. You got to do the 1%. The people that are the most successful are doing the 1%. Right? They're doing the thing that 1% that most people won't do. Everyone else is making excuses, blaming everybody else, right? We talked about that in previous episodes, blaming others for things that are happening to us or choices that we've made. You got to start taking responsibility of yourself. And yeah.
Right. And that makes me think of it really, I love everything you're saying because it really comes down to getting to know your needs. Because for me, I learned a long time ago, like about every 6 weeks at least minimum, I needed to go upstate New York and be outside because I would have breakdowns. I would just be too overwhelmed. My human design, I'm a mountain person. I also happen to be an Aries. So, those Rams out there. But it's all about perspective. When you're a mountain and you're seeing out, you're just a perspective person. It's, but it's just really getting to know your needs. So, yeah, doing the best you can in the day and giving yourself a space, but then also learning to help yourself. How can I have these better days? And that all just comes with practice and finding what works for you. So what works for one person isn't going to, So yesterday I know I needed, basically 2 days, Friday and Saturday, to chill out. I was like, okay. But then that does mean that I still have milestones I want to hit this week, so I want to stick to those. So when you're resting, really rest. When you're working, really work, because it's more productive that way. If you keep trying to be split, nothing is really getting done. You're not in deep work mode. I get stuff done much quicker if you get rid of the distractions like you were saying and just zone in. Than being like, okay, well, I can do a little bit of it, but then I can be over here and I can run out. No, chunks of time is what I found really has you at your best, because even you're resting, you can not rest well, because you're only really halfway there. So it's not really a vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of chunks of time. That's what I do. I also give myself a cap for if I had those little tasks at 12 o'clock, whatever I had to do, it's got to be done. That's it. Because by 12 o'clock, I start my workday in my mind, right? And I had to just sit down. I'll prep my office area and all the things. And by 12 o'clock, whatever I didn't get to, I'm like, all right, well, then I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll spend time another day, or maybe I'll get to it later on in the evening. But I got to sit down and get something done. I got to get it done. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to do for you what you can do for yourself. No one will. And that's also beautiful, because that is who you are. That's your essence. You're going to put your flavor and seasonings on whatever it is that you're presenting the world. And the best way you can do that is always being your best, and understanding that. I think I learned this a big when I left my 9 to 5, because I realized my boss at the time would tell me, you know, you just gotta you gotta do the work, man. You gotta show up and like you act like you don't want to be here. And I didn't want to be there, because nothing that I didn't want to. It wasn't anything I wanted to do, right? So I wasn't doing my best, and I was doing myself a disservice by that, because I wasn't showing up for me. Right? I wasn't doing the work, and I also was doing the service for my environment by allowing that negative energy, by allowing that depression, all the things to get to me. I was bringing that into my work environment. Other people were feeling that. They were like, "What's wrong with you? Is everything okay?" Like, you know, why would someone give me a raise or anything like that if I wasn't performing to a level where it was worthy of it, or at least showing that I deserved it? Right? So that I learned is do your best. I know we all have mundane things that we don't want to do, the day-to-day stuff and the routine and the jobs that we don't like, but understand that if you do your best, you're going to get from it tremendous growth, joy, and a realization of who you are, and know that, all right, this is not what I want to do, but I'm going to do my best so that I can eventually leave it. I can let this go. I'm going to take from this the lessons that I need to, the knowledge, the experience, and that's part of doing your best. Realizing that everything you're doing is a lesson, is an experience, it's contributing to who you are as a whole, right? Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you, right? And we have to understand that. And if you understand that, and again, it's a big pill to swallow. It was hard for me to acknowledge that because I disliked it. I'm putting the attitude out there like, I don't want to be here, whatever. I don't need this, blah, blah, blah. I want to assume my passion in acting, and that's what I want to do, but not realizing because of this job, I had food on the table. I had health insurance. I had money that when I finally decided to go, I can live on my own without feeling like I was struggling. So there was the gift. There was the lessons in that structure. And now I have the unstructured lifestyle, but because I have the structured lifestyle and now I understand what the unstructured lifestyle, there's a middle ground for me. And then I know what I need to do to excel. And I know what I need to do to also excel here, but there's got to be a balance. Sometimes it's going to be up here. It's going to be down here. Like Nell said, it's the chunks of time. You just got to go for it and do it. Start. Just get going and start. Right? Hardest thing to do, but just sit down and do it. 5 minutes. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, you're stimulating the serotonin in your mind and all these things, and your body's going to start going. You're meeting the energy. You're like, oh, well, 15 minutes went by, an hour went by. Oh, shit, I finished my task. That's amazing. Well, I feel good. I can go on to the next one. Or you go, that's the one for today. But you got to understand, you got to start. You got to understand what you're always doing your best is. Show up for yourself and be committed to yourself, but understanding when to rest. And when you're resting, rest. So that when you're working or wherever you're pursuing, you're present enough to just be there and do it. Nelly, any last words? I know we're coming on short on time. Nelly, any words? Anybody else listening in there in the world sphere of numbers and computers and all that?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of it. So I think it just comes down to balance, like anything in life. And the worst thing you can do, and I know this from experience, is if you're already having a day where you don't feel like you're doing your best, judging yourself on top of that, in that moment, maybe a few days later you can reflect and be like, okay, I could have done this better. But if you're already in that low mode, it's not going to help you to layer more pain on top of you not getting to where you want to be. Just be in the moment with yourself. Eventually you'll find out why you weren't performing the way that you know you can. So for me, if I'm having a day like that, and then I reflect, and like, okay, well, I haven't had a day off in a while, is usually my thing. I haven't been taking care of myself in a certain way. So it is going to be harder for me to perform, and that's okay. And it just helps me learn and adjust. So, and that is my best that day, and that day still taught me a lot because it helped me change my schedule so every day can be a little better, however you want to define it. So, like usual, practice mindfulness, check in. Usually weekly, I think, is helpful. Look back on your week. What days did I think I did really great? What days did I think, oh, weren't so great? And why?
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything I can adjust? And there's always something you can adjust, and a lot of it is more space for yourself and usually more space for things you love, because if you're doing things you love, you're energized. If you're doing things you don't love, then we should be respectful and take what we can from it. But the hope is to start to align more with yourself and move towards more of a life that every day, it's not about money or anything. It's about aligning with what energizes you. People, places, things.
Yeah, I love that. And I just add to that, again, the self-evaluation, the self-reflection, asking yourself those questions. And I would say is ask yourself this: what can I do? Instead of going, what I can't do, what can I do in this moment? Right? And what can that look like? And it will come to you. If you really listen, take the time to breathe and be who you are, it'll come to you. It'll say rest. It'll say do this, just get it done, or whatever it is. Your body and your mind will tell you what you need to do. Follow your intuition. It'll always steer you right. Always steer you right. If you have to pray on it, meditate on it, journal about it, just ask yourself, what can I do? Instead of what I can't, I won't, I shouldn't. They won't let me. They won't let you because you're allowing them not to let you. So I'll say that. And again, lead with kindness and love, and be kind to yourself. It sounds repetitive, and it sounds, like, oh, all right, fine, we get it, because you're constantly saying it. But it's the truth. I think we forget to do that a lot of the times, because we're so consumed by a materialistic world, by our egos, by the external world, that we tend to be so harsh on ourselves, and and not be our own cheerleaders, right? You got to cheer yourself on. You got to show up and be committed to yourself. And by doing that means acknowledging you got to do your best, however that looks. However that looks. Is it a rest day, a workout day, just committing to that one task, doing it all that day so you have 2 days to rest? Like, you got to be honest, but never give up. Never quit. Never give up, because you only have this life right now. This is where you are.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
We'll see you next time.